Everybody a little bit about your schooling and your background and your education and your medical practice, so that everybody knows, you know, where you practice and everything that they can know about you as far as a doctor.
Sure. So thank you first of all for having me, and thank you everyone for attending. I'm excited to get to speak to you all today. So I'm a medical doctor. I attended the University of Virginia School of Medicine, graduated in 2014, went on to do my internal medicine training at Maine Medical Center in Portland, Maine. And since then I have been running my own concierge medical practice, which is mostly virtual and mostly here in the state of Florida.
So thank you so much for your credentials. And Dr. Stillman, can you please tell us really what caught your eye with the X39 product and the technology? Really, what was the zinger that kind of was like a game changer for you and an eye opener?
So I became fascinated by light as medicine must have been 2017. And I dove deep into all the papers on this, started looking into devices that were tens or $10,000, $20,000 is basically what it was starting, right? And then there were devices up to $100,000 like red light therapy beds, like the NovoThor. Great products, incredible outcomes, an incredible whole new world of medicine, but unfortunately very impractical for the average person. It took a lot of time out of their day. Frequently they had to go somewhere to have the therapy done. Sometimes it was expensive on top of that, and then you're driving, you have to go multiple times a week. This was an opportunity I saw very quickly for me to deliver light therapy to people while they were at work, while they were at home, while they were indoors, getting on with life, right? Yeah. And so I knew immediately that it actually took a fair amount of prompting though from Renita Brannon, who we all know, for me to really take a look at it and then start using it in my practice, because I get a lot of...
Did she keep bugging you and bugging you?
She did. She kept bugging me and bugging me.
Great.
And that is something that you have to realize about this, particularly if you want to build up the business side of it, is people are so inundated with information. There's so many products that are being sold. Unfortunately, a lot of them will say, I don't want to try this. I'm going to go do something else. They'll get distracted. But the key is the value is there. And that was immediately what I noticed when I started to actually recommend it. And then also what I did for my own peace of mind, really, was to put out a link in my blog posts and my email newsletters to a survey. And immediately the surveys we started getting back, reviews were incredible.
Wow.
Right. And so, I spend a lot of time counseling patients on diet, lifestyle, exercise, all these things. We put them on complex supplement regimens that are hundreds of dollars a month, oftentimes. And I was getting the same results in many cases with something as simple as a patch, like the X39, that I would otherwise be having to, recommend hundreds of dollars in supplements or potentially medications in order to get the same outcome. So very limited, even with very limited experience with it, it was already very clearly very powerful. The science behind it made sense to me, and so then we just started recommending it to practically everyone.
Wow, that is some great.
So
great
good
info.
job, Renita. She kept following up.
She did.
Proud of that girl.
Yeah.
And did you hear how he said that the reviews, so that would be testimony, came in like off the chart? Like he's having
right away
great results with the patch compared to maybe doing supplements.
Or his other therapies that costed tens of thousands, sometimes upwards hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, yes.
Incredible.
Yeah. Particularly like stem cell therapy. We talk about that all the time because it's related. Yeah, I mean, people are sadly, a lot of them look at the sticker price of the LifeWave X39 and they think, wow, it's a lot of money. But the reality is with the outcomes that people get, you then ask them, well, would you rather spend $5,000 on a stem cell injection therapy protocol that you can't use for years, that happens once and then maybe you don't get good results from, or you don't get any results from? Because that happens, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's what is $5,000? And that's a low end for stem cells. I mean, you could get low. 10, 20, 30. Yeah. So then it's just a simple math. Do you want to use this for years, or do you want to use that once?
Right. Okay, let's give everybody, Dr. Stillman, can you explain exactly in simple terms how the X39 works?
Yes. So our bodies emit a certain amount of infrared light. So infrared light is light we can't see. We sense it as heat. So when you go outside on a sunny day and you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, what you're really sensing is the 42% of sunlight that is in the infrared part of the spectrum, okay? What people don't realize is that infrared light fundamentally runs a lot of their biology under the hood. And they don't realize this because, you know, we don't come with a owner's manual or an instruction manual, so you have to kind of figure it out as you go. But quite literally, your mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell, they make energy in the form of heat. They make infrared light. This interacts with water in the cell to create energy. So the X39s reflect a very specific frequency of light back into the cell that has a specific effect of turning on and off key, I'm going to call them bioregulatory pathways, right? But biochemical pathways and so on and so forth. And that's how they work. So, you know, you asked me to make sure I made it simple and understandable.
Yeah.
It's real simple. These patches reflect your body's light back into the body at a very specific wavelength for a very powerful therapeutic effect.
Wow.
Boom.
See?
You got it. Simple as
Appreciate
can be.
you sharing with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely. So can you explain, like, we get a lot of people saying that, well, you know, I feel so much better. I had like a back issue, or I had a knee issue or discomfort, and now I don't need to wear the patch. But why is it so important to continue to keep wearing the X39 patch? I know I'm wearing it till
So
Jesus takes me home.
what I ask people is, do you wait to change your oil until your engine is knocking or your car's engine is smoking? And they say, no, of course not. Why would I do that? I say, okay, so you do reasonable things to keep your car in good condition because you recognize that replacing your engine block can be $5,000 to $20,000 depending on the vehicle, right? And you know, you realize you got to keep your wheels in the right alignment, and you got to rotate the tires, and you got to do all this stuff, right? Why do you do that? They say, well, I know, you know, my car came with an owner's manual. I say, I know, you didn't. Right? So what are we going to do? We're going to do everything reasonably possible, right, to keep you in the best condition possible. And when you look at the kind of results people are getting with this, a lot of it is diseases that have emerged, right? They've emerged out of the body, and they're clearly a problem, right? Wouldn't it be great if before they emerged, you kept them sort of back? And that's why I recommend and why I use the patches myself every day, even though I don't have any real medical problems that I'm treating with them.
Right.
Can you explain and tell us the GHK copper peptide is a really, really hot topic?
Yes.
And can you explain what it does, how it happens, how does it raise the levels of our GHK, this tiny little X39 patch?
Yes, great question. So minerals are actually, and GHK-Cu or GHK copper peptide, it's a peptide. A peptide's a collection of amino acids that's not big enough to be a big protein like, say, hemoglobin, but it's bigger than just a couple of amino acids put together. So we call it a peptide. And it binds to copper. Now, part of why I became fascinated by this technology, these products, is that I'm fascinated by minerals. Copper is a mineral, it's an element, it's in the periodic table of elements. If people want to learn more about this from me, I'm constantly educating people about this on my weekly webinars, where often I'll bring up these products because they're of value, obviously. Because we have to get our minerals right in order to have overall health and vitality. Many of many of the people watching, I mean, I have had certainly experiences with taking magnesium or taking Epsom salt baths. These are minerals. We're using them therapeutically, right? So we've used minerals for millennia in medicine. One of the things about minerals that is increasingly clear from the scientific literature is that they have to be in the right place. In other words, a mineral can basically become a loose cannon if it's not properly bound inside of a protein, right? And this is why when I started to see people who were what I suspected was copper toxic, we call it copper toxicity, or sometimes I call it copper overload. It's people who have too much copper in their diet, too much copper in their bodies, too much copper due to hormones or due to environmental contaminants, things like copper piping. There's a very clear sort of personality type and background that lends itself to this. And when I started to look at how these people were responding to the LifeWave patches, all of this made more sense. Because essentially what we're doing is we're taking free copper, which now from the literature we know is implicated in things like Alzheimer's disease, dementia, cognitive decline, the genesis of things like cancer, all sorts of diseases that we don't want, not to mention cardiovascular disease, still the #1 killer of Americans. when I saw that what we were doing was increasing a peptide that bound copper, and instead of that copper then creating what we call oxidative stress, free radical damage, and what I generally call metabolic mayhem within the human organism, and we put it to work doing what it's supposed to do with a peptide that binds it, that's when I thought, this makes sense. Because I've found that people have this, they struggle with this idea of, oh, there's this little thing, I put it on my body, and all of a sudden I get this really disproportionate big effect. Sounds too good to be true. But, you know, many things operate on these principles, like acupuncture, right? You place a needle in the body. I've seen people get amazing results with acupuncture, right? That's why the patches go on specific parts of the body, right? I've seen people with light therapy get amazing results. Usually it's with very expensive devices, as we talked about, or it's with radical lifestyle changes, which, you know, like, for example, people will like move to a tropical country and all of a sudden they're getting way more light. But for most people who are working an indoor job, that's not possible without, you know, basically going hungry. So they don't do it, and they can use the LifeWave patches in order to get the benefit of infrared light that they would otherwise need to get from the sun.
Fantastic.
Okay, I feel like I'm interviewing him myself. You're just sitting there. Anyways, that's okay. So can you explain
I'm bringing it
to
all
us?
in. I can't wait to break out of here.
Yeah. Can you explain to us how the X39 actually raises the levels of our copper peptide?
Great question. Wow, what a great question. Okay, here's why this is a great question. Because Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay? So all of you have had the experience of listening or hearing a noise that for some reason just made your hair stand up on end. Fingers on a blackboard, the sound that's like a hinge will make when it's rusty and it's creaking open. It just makes you uncomfortable, right? Yes. And what's funny about that is these noises are not necessarily loud, right? It's that their frequency is very powerful. Yeah. It can almost make your whole body feel uncomfortable, right? That's why the patches are engineered to reflect a very specific frequency back into the human body. Without you even noticing it, that frequency going back into the human body is turning on cells and pathways and changing what's happening within your body. And that is the foundational science of the technology. And that, I think, is something people who are used to pills and things that come in bottles and boxes and bags for their wellness, they're not used to thinking in terms of, oh, wait, if I just pick the right energy for my problem, it'll just go away. But it works that way. And the longer I practice in the integrative natural medicine space, the more I think in those terms, and the more I find myself quoting Tesla's quotation, which I just shared with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Incredible. So now everyone's starting to get an idea of how this GHK is being worked because of this powerful product. I mean, technology, just a little quarter-sized patch. Tell us a little bit about stem cells, all right? It's the hottest topic on the street. I mean, it is in wellness, but even those of us lay folks, when we talk, you know, people have been talking a lot. They even do seminars now, clinics. They invite influential people into dinners, and doctors talk to them about the importance of stem cells. So the knowledge is really starting to get up there. But can you discuss a little bit, explain what stem cells are, you know, and why it's so important for them to remain active?
So stem cells are cells that can grow, and then what we call, the word we use is differentiate into other types of cells. Okay. I want you to think about it in terms of, like, you could take dollars in your checking account or a credit card, and you could go out and you could buy anything. You could turn it into whatever you needed, right? You could turn it into a car, you could turn it into a house, you could turn it into a shed, you could turn it into tools, you could turn it into LifeWave patches. Whatever you want to turn it into, you can turn it into that, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't have any cash in the bank, how do you turn your car into money for groceries, right? Yeah. So the body has this finite number of cells that we call stem cells, and the stem cells themselves become anything you need. You need new heart cells, they become heart cells. You need new brain cells, they become brain cells. You need new hip cells, new joint capsule cells, new bone cells, new muscle cells, new whatever cells, those stem cells become those cells. They're all over your body, they can travel through your circulatory system. And the thing about stem cells is they, as you mentioned, they go into what we call senescence, and they begin to run out as we get older. This is part of the aging process, right? And so the name of the game really of anti-aging and regenerative medicine might easily be summed up in keeping as many stem cells around for as long as possible and keeping them as powerful as possible.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So anything that does that tends to help people recover from illness, avoid degenerative diseases of aging. I'm talking about heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, obesity, all the things that people today have learned to fear, unfortunately. And the name of the game is keeping the stem cells well to mitigate or prevent those illnesses and recover from them, because illness is a part of life. It's a fact of life. We're all getting older. And so we all want to be in as good a position to recover when we do have a medical problem as possible. And that's why stem cells are so important.
Wow. So listen, if you decide or we get a message on our This Is It Team Facebook page that you say, I'm not going to wear the patch anymore, Dr. Stillman is coming to your house to see if you're alive, if you're breathing. Because if you just heard that statement, it's like you would definitely want to wear the patch. I mean,
Incredible.
Be smart. That is huge, that the cell can turn into anything that your body would need. Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. It is incredible.
It's absolutely mind-blowing, really.
Right.
When you think about it, this tiny little patch.
It is. It is. Can you tell us the difference between what I'm seeing, because the testimonies I'm seeing from this X39 blow away what I've heard even with people with stem cell injections, meaning that it maybe they're only stuck in a certain spot. But tell us the difference. Obviously, the price is number one. I mean, $99 versus
Wake up
20
call.
grand, and you're not guaranteed it's going to work. Here, we're at least guarantee a 30-day money-back guarantee.
That's true. You can't get that.
You know, so
and
tell us a little bit.
That's the tough thing about procedures, is that procedures have this big ticket price, right? And the reality is that that ticket price, you go to the procedure, you have it done, then people generally fall into, I look at it as three categories, right? You get the people who get no benefit, you get people who get a slight and potentially likely transient benefit, and then you get the people who are the poster children who end up in the infomercials and the advertising, right? And that's great, but I don't think that people realize that they may spend $5,000 and end up in the bottom tier. And the thing is, you can get the X39 now, you can enroll some friends, all of a sudden yours are paid for, and then you can use it for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Right? And with the number of people who have life-changing results when they start using the patch, your friends are going to be mad at you if you don't enroll them sooner than later. Because, and I'm not going to say they're going to be mad at you, right? Because, I mean, are they really going to be mad at you? No, but they're going to wish that you talked to them earlier.
That's right. What is a detox?
Okay.
And what can they experience?
With the X39.
Great
With
question.
the X39.
Great question. So, long before I started using LifeWave, right? In natural and integrative medicine, what you're trying to do is turn on the rest, rejuvenation pathways in the body to get it to come back to a state of better health, right? In order for the body to fight off disease or undergo a rest and repair process, right, it can be a little bit unpleasant, right? You might need to sweat out some toxins, you might need to throw up some toxins, you might need to excrete some toxins, right? And so sometimes people will mistake the symptoms of disease for the signs of ill health, when truly the symptoms of disease are a sign that the body is actually doing something about a problem in the body, right? And that's
the kicker right there, guys.
It's a big stumbling block for people, because they'll think, say, I tried the X39 and I felt worse. What happened? Well, when you get on a plane and you fly across the country and all of a sudden the plane is jerking and jumping up and down and it's turbulence, right? Do you assume that the plane is going to crash? No. You know, and I tell this to patients when they're saying, I'm sort of scared, I'm worried, you know, like, should I keep going with whatever you've recommended me to do, or should I quit, or, you know, is this good for me? Is it bad for me? I say, look, if every plane that ever hit turbulence turned around, no one would ever get anywhere.
That's good.
You got to make, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go seek medical attention for symptoms or signs or illnesses, right? You got to use your own judgment. When people are going through these detoxes, it's very important to understand that this is often, if not always, part of the healing process. And if you kick that, I sometimes call it kicking the can of their wellness down the road. If you just keep kicking that can down the road, it doesn't end well. You have to take some days off. You have to sometimes feel worse in order to feel better. And that's okay. And the key is to make sure that you're nourishing your body, you're hydrating it well, because what your body is trying to do is it's taking toxins out of cells, dumping them into your bloodstream. That's part of why you feel bad. Then it's trying to excrete them through your kidneys, and it's trying to excrete them through your gut. And so eating things like fresh fruits, vegetables, hydrating well, and that's how we minimize those detox reactions and get people through them as fast as possible.
Can you just give us a quick, simple explanation of
Analogy?
how the X39 makes this work together, how they
Right.
attaches to the peptides or the proteins, how the copper
Essentially
attaches.
what the X39 is doing is it's turning on the production of the peptide that binds the copper, right? So, it's tough for me to come up with a good analogy, but if you look at water in your house, right, we're all happy that we can flush the toilet, turn on this tap, get water out of the refrigerator or your water filter or whatever.
Especially flush the toilet.
Right? But, if you have water in your house in the wrong place, you may wind up or wake up one day with half your house being full of mold.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you got to do $150,000 or more in renovations. And that's if you got a small house that's not that expensive, right? Free radicals, heavy metals are the exact same story. And so this is like improving the plumbing in your house to prevent a leak. And that's why I love it.
So looking at
Wow.
preventative is just as much or more important than somebody looking for that one little elbow issue isn't going away yet.
No.
This is way
No, this
bigger
is
than
deep.
this.
Yeah.
Well,
it's amazing.
people start to really, their thinking starts to break down here. And I often see this happening, that people will say, well, I don't want to spend this or that or the other thing on this or that or the other thing, X39 patches, supplements,
Right.
good medical care, whatever. The liabilities that show up out of that are $100,000 hospitalizations, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 stem cell procedures. The amount of money you're going to spend on maintenance is going to be dwarfed by the amount of money that you're going to spend on getting these diseases back under control, if you even have the option. Because for some people, their first heart attack is their last heart attack. Their first stroke is their last stroke. Their first cancer is their last cancer. They don't get a second chance. So particularly when you have an opportunity to turn this into a revenue stream for your household, and that's part of why I took the time today to do this. It's part of why I take the time to write about it on my newsletter, is that when people understand that this is the opportunity to get in early with one of the best products in the health and wellness space that's absolutely cutting edge, you would be crazy not to take it.
Okay, I have a really good question, Dr. Stillman. One of the hottest topics in beauty is collagen.
Yes.
Right, ladies?
Yes.
So can you explain the importance of the collagen, what benefits we can expect, and do you feel the X39 is more powerful method of increasing collagen than other supplements?
So collagen is the main structural building block of the body. The more collagen you have and the better shape it's in, the better your skin looks, the tighter it looks, the fewer wrinkles you have, the fewer bags, crow's feet, whatever you're going to actually have, right? So keeping our collagen peptides strong, keeping them abundant is the name of the game. Under the hood, we actually know that people with better collagen networks, collagen helps hem in things like cancers. So the stronger your collagen network, actually, the more it's going to protect you from things like cancer. Very important. It also protects your arteries, right? So when you have, say, a heart attack or a stroke, oftentimes what's happening is the vessel wall has been damaged. The collagen, the elastin, the other fibers in there that make up that vessel wall, they've been damaged. The body tried to clot in order to heal that damage, and then that created the stroke or the heart attack, right? So collagen is critical. It's one of our most abundant proteins. You can take collagen peptide supplements, and most people, particularly women today, don't eat enough protein, and many of them benefit from 10, 20 grams of extra collagen peptides a day, whether that's as bone broth or they take a collagen peptide supplement. However, right, just because you throw more collagen into the mix doesn't mean that it gets incorporated well, right? So you want to be doing everything that you can to keep your body healthy and well, and the GHKCU peptide pathways, the pathways it affects, play into this, right? So you can improve your collagen matrix without changing anything about your nutrition, just by changing the light that your body is absorbing vis-a-vis, say, the X39 patch.
To help everybody here with their doctor, or if there's a doctor listening, okay? Dr. Stillman, as an MD, please explain to other doctors and medical professionals who have never heard of X39 why they should take this technology serious.
They should take this technology seriously because it works. It's very cost effective for the results that it gets. It can actually provide them with more time for themselves, for their families, and most of all, for really good patient care. Because one of the challenges we face today is that patients need a lot of time, they need a lot of education. So it works, it's cost effective in the long run. It's a great revenue stream for a practice. And the other thing is it will get people results oftentimes even if they don't do anything else.
Right.
So oftentimes we see, particularly in the integrative and natural world, people have got to give up soda and sugar, and they got to go keto, and they got to eat this, and they got to take that, and then they get great results. That requires an enormous amount of lifestyle change. Mm-hmm. Some people are not ready for that, or they haven't decided to commit to that. Mm-hmm. And whether or not they should or need to, which of course I recommend that they do, mm-hmm. I would rather or would like to see them get a benefit from this, because oftentimes that's what then catapults them into a better lifestyle, a better, healthier diet. They wake up, they're like, oh my gosh, wait, I could be so much healthier, so much better, so much clearer, so much more focused.
Wow.
Now, tell them again, we spoke about this earlier, but if you're speaking to a doctor, because I mean, you had to get some results, see some results to have your interest piqued as well. Because
yes.
I'd rather have my doctor. I mean,
yes.
I'm not saying they have to be cynical, but skeptical. I don't have a problem with this at all. So you started testing with your patients, and you had such miraculous results that it actually piqued your interest. That might be something that they need to do.
Mom?
My mom, yes, my mom raves about these patches now.
Yeah.
And that is one of the best pieces of advice I have for people who are trying to reach their doctor is don't patch your doctor, patch their mom, patch their dad, patch their kid, patch their husband, wife, spouse, whatever. Yeah. Because the truth is, a lot of the doctors are, they're healthy. I mean, some of them are not, right? But they're actually more likely to see a really impressive result in an older family member. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And yeah, I have to be very protective of my reputation, right? Because in the end, people come to me because they trust me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So for me to endorse this product, I have to be very sure that it works.
Yeah. So, hey, we just want to thank you so much. I mean, everybody. We have got so much knowledge. I mean, what was our goal to have Dr. Stillman here was to raise our educational awareness of how the X39 works. We did that. Appreciate that. And we also, our belief level now is like, people are like, oh my gosh, I've got to be wearing this patch. I don't want to take it off. I got to share it with my loved ones. And because of all this, it screams opportunity when you hear it from somebody like yourself with your background. Thank you.
So thank you so much for spending your time here at the virtual convention, guys. I'm telling you, we're going to put up his site so you guys can get more educated when he does lectures and all of that. So thank you so much again for your time. I'm telling you guys, hey, 2024 is going to be big. We told you.
And we're excited also to have him as our partner. So we're partnered up together.
That's right.
So not only do we have medical advice, we've got business advice. Where else could a doctor and a former pro water skier, a flight attendant, all be connected like this? This is a really unique community when you think about it. That all